In an earlier module, we created the data source for COVID cases in Florida from early 2020 to mid-2021, and a series of visualizations, including visualizations for the 3 largest counties in Tampa Bay. And we'll recreate all this in Power BI. If you haven't done so, start by downloading the 2020 cases only.csv file and the 2021 cases only.csv file, both of which are available from this Canvas page. And we're going to have to append the 2 data sets. If we load them separately and then link them on, for example, county, we can only use the data for 2020 or the dates in 2021. And we want to, of course, use all dates. So I start by loading the 2020 data, which is in a text file, into Power BI. Now we need to make a number of changes. So we're going to transform the data. And what we're going to do initially is just manage columns. We're going to choose columns. We don't need object ID. We don't need age group. We don't need jurisdiction. And I'm going to get rid of case, case 1, and chart date as well. And then we can say OK, and close and apply. And that will take a little while because the files are large. Okay, so the 2020 data has been loaded now. Now we're going to do the same for the 2021 data. So again, 21 cases, open. And we're again going to transform the data. We're going to choose the columns. We don't need age group. We don't need jurisdiction. Case 1, case 1, and chart date. So that gives us the columns. But there was a slight difference between the column names for the 2020 and the 2021 COVID data. The name of the last column in the 2020 data was object ID 2, where it is just object ID in the 2021 data. And in order for us to successfully append the data from the 2 files, the columns have to have exactly the same name. If not, Power BI would give null values in the columns that did not appear in both data sets. So object ID would be null in all of the rows we imported from the 2020 data, and object ID 2 would be null in all the data we imported from the 2021 data set. So to fix this, we're going to simply rename this one. So right click on the column name, then do rename and change this to object ID 2. And now we can add this to the data set as well. And again, this is a large file, so it will take a little bit. Okay, so you see we're loaded about 1 million cases. So let's look at the model now. And you see that we have 2 separate tables. And what we're going to want to do is append them. So I'm going to click on the first one, 2020, then use transform data. And you see we now have this new option here, combine. So we don't want to merge the queries, we want to append them. And we want to append the queries as new. We don't want to. We want to keep the 2 initial tables around as well. So it's going to say append query as new. So it knows already that we want to do this in the 2020 cases, so we're going to append the 2021 cases. Click OK. And then what we'll do is, let's just close and apply this. So append 1 is obviously going to be the combined data set. Okay, now we're going to want to make a few changes to append 1 as well. And we now can click on here and then use the transform data, or we can do the edit query by clicking on the more options to the right of append 1 in the fields pane. Let's do the edit query. In either case, we're going to end up at Power Query, and Power Query opened up on append 1. The first thing we're going to do is rename this. So we're going to call this 2021 COVID cases. So we have a more useful name. And since we're only interested in the 3 largest counties in Tampa Bay, I'm going to put a filter on county, get rid of all of them, and then select Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas. Do OK. And then the only other change we have to make is that event date appears to come in as a date time, and we just want it as a date. So I'm just going to click here, make that a date, and then again we can do append and close, or close and append and apply. And that will make the changes to append 1 that we want. Okay, so let's look at the 2021 COVID cases. And you see that by default, much as Tableau did, Power BI has created a date hierarchy for event date. And you see how that works. So that's similar to what Tableau did. So if we pull in the event date into a report, make this a little bigger, change it to a clustered bar chart, then pull object ID in the y-axis and give it count as the aggregation method, which is already done. Then you see what happens is that the hierarchy gets dragged in, and we can indeed start drilling down and so on. Well, it's not what we want to do, so we're going to go back to the top level. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the setting on the event date. Now this is slightly different from the way in which you do it in Tableau, but you see we can actually select event date as an option so that we get the actual event date as the points along the x-axis. So let's do that. And you see we now have a bar chart that shows us all of the cases, and obviously we can change that to a line chart as well, if you like. So again, the date will come in initially as a date hierarchy, but we can change it by simply selecting event date.